Alrighty, here we go. We're gonna keep this quick, but a little live reaction to our Auburn versus Houston basketball game. Houston beat the Auburn Tigers 73-72. Hunter, you wanna get us going on this recap?
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy game. I think we knew coming in that Auburn was going to have to be really, assert themselves and kind of match the physicality that we know Houston likes to play with. And I thought they did that from the start. There were some lapses with defense at times where felt like there wasn't a lot of help. They were getting to the rim really easily with some uncontested layups, but I thought overall, we really matched the physicality that we know Houston and Kelvin Sampson teams always like to play with. Um, Really, in the end, came down to free throw shooting. And, when Auburn finished 21 for 33 from the line, you miss 12 free throws and you lose a game by 1 point. That's an easy thing to circle and come back to. Um, but honestly, I think going into it, we both thought that this was probably closer to a 8 to 10 point
For
game.
sure.
Um, and that said, Auburn held their own. And I think I come out of this game feeling really good about where this team is at, both right now and where they can be as they continue to gel as the season goes on. Again, this is a brand new roster of guys that are just playing their fourth game together, whereas Houston obviously brings back Uzan, Sharp, Tugler. And shout out to their two freshmen, man. They were
Yeah.
absolutely incredible the entire game. I mean, Uzan and Sharp got it going a little bit in the second half, but Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak were the MVPs in my co MVPs in my mind for Houston. Sinak finished with 18 points and 9 rebounds. Kingston Flemings finished with 22, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. So those guys really stepped up, and I think you know for a Houston team that always has a pretty high floor, you add a really dynamic freshman duo like that. That raises their ceiling, in my opinion. And I know that they were favored to beat Auburn by a little bit more than they did, but um, in the end, Auburn hung around. They looked like they belonged in this game, and the ball bounces your way a couple different times, and maybe this has a different result. But I guess what were some of your main takeaways, just as far as how you thought we looked? And as this team continues to gel together, where do you think we need to really emphasize, improving, maybe aside from obviously free throw shooting, as we go forward?
Well, I agree with literally everything that you said. Being an Auburn basketball fan, the free throw shooting is not going to improve no matter how much we work on it. I promise you we'll miss free throws down the
Frustrating.
stretch. Um, that being said, couple things that like we played a muck it up basketball game with Houston. We played to their level and we hung in there. I thought we kind of fumbled the bag down the stretch, but we just kept getting stops and we were right there, losing by 1 point. We had 3 plays drawn up at the end where we threw it out of bounds but kept the ball. Then Taha got blocked, and then the alley oop at the rim to Keyshawn Murphy. Foul or not, it looked like a foul. I know you already texted me about it. Didn't love that play call. I'm kind of with you. I'm indifferent though. 1 second. I don't really know
That's
what
tough.
you're expecting to get out of it. I was a little under impressed with Overton. And again, you've been texting me all game, but Jovic. The
Yeah.
I don't really know what we view them as offensively, and defensively. Jovic is a non-factor. Overton can play a little defense. The shots he takes are kind of crazy. I'm not a big fan of it. He finished 7 for 11 down at the free throw line, but he missed. I think he was 2 for 6 his last 6 attempts. He missed some big free
Yeah.
throws. Um, Again, though, my score prediction was 62-77 earlier this week. I expected an experienced Houston, ranked number 1 in the country, to kind of give this team fits, and they put us in a spot where we didn't play our brand of basketball, and we very easily could have won this game. I think our stock, in my eyes, is trending up, depending on. We've got 5 games coming up within the month that are against really good teams. And Keyshawn Hall, that was another thing. He left the
Yeah.
game with 5 minutes left, and he's been our leading scorer all year. And his ability to get to the free throw line and make free throws has won us a lot of games. So I don't know what his injury status is, and that to me is gonna say a
Yeah.
lot about how we handled the next month.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Keyshawn Hall is a guy that's got to be on the court for this Auburn team to be successful. I know we've talked a little bit about how he can be sometimes on the defensive end of the floor, but he's just such a dynamic scorer, man. He's pretty good with the ball off the dribble. He's insanely good at getting to the free throw line, and he's a very good free throw shooter. Um, and I think you lose a massive element of your offense if he's not able to go, going forward or in the near future with some of these big non-conference games coming up. Obviously, don't think he plays Wednesday against Jackson State, but hopefully, it's something that was, something that he can work through and get some treatment on and be ready to go for that first Monday game,
For
the week of
sure.
Thanksgiving. But yeah, he's got to be on the floor for this team, and he's so dynamic as a scorer. And Todd Pettiford was better today. I think we both expected him to step up a little bit. Just being someone that is a leader on this team and kind of your facilitator on offense.
Yeah.
To your point about Jovic, dude, I'm trying not to overreact with him, but I just really am struggling to see what he brings to the table. And I know we're pretty limited already in terms of front court depth.
And
But
if you
he's,
lose Hall and Murphy's banged up, I mean, you got to rely on Jovic for some minutes down there.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And Keyshawn Murphy definitely doesn't look fully healthy yet. I mean, he's got that brace on his knee. Still looks like he's, not moving quite as well as he normally does. So hopefully, he can continue to rest up. I'm glad that we only have one game coming up this week on Wednesday, and it's a bye game that hopefully we should be able to cut. So guys like Murphy and Keyshawn Hall maybe cut some of their minutes and still be able to get a win and start looking forward towards Michigan and Oregon. But that first game's on Monday. It's not a tournament where it's kind of later into the week. Your first game's on Wednesday and you're playing through the Thanksgiving weekend. We play Monday, Tuesday. So you've got 8 days essentially, not almost not even to hopefully have those guys back and ready to play. But I guess let me ask you, like, aside from the injury element, do you feel better, worse, about the same? Kind of looking at like the players tournament, and then obviously Arizona, Purdue. We've got a handful of big time non-conference games left. Like, where do you come away from this game? Maybe aside from Keyshawn Hall going out, what has your outlook changed at all as far as some of those games coming up?
Ceiling floor Auburn hasn't changed. I still think ceiling Sweet 16. That being said, what we showed today gave me a lot more confidence in our team, and I think that we can win some of these games. I'm trying to figure out our offensive identity. It seems kind of run and gun.
Yeah,
Um, so
very
I
pickup game esque to
Yeah,
me.
exactly. And so it's tough for me to really gauge how we're going to match up against some of these teams. I will say, just watching, look again, just talking Auburn, but watching Arizona, they look a lot better than I thought. So I'm more nervous about that. But Michigan and Oregon have looked arguably underwhelming. So I think I'm looking up. I'm feeling better about where we're at. I think we can handle Michigan. We can play with them. I think we should beat Oregon. I think Purdue is going to be a handful,
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
and Arizona is going to be a coin flip. But I think if you can scrape through these next 5 or 6 ranked games, almost 500 going into SEC play, just about. I mean that's good for Auburn.
Yeah. I mean, because you're gonna play a third game at the Players Tournament. We just don't know who it is yet. If you
Correct.
could somehow, between those three and then the two of Purdue and Arizona, if you could grab 2 wins out of that,
Yeah.
um, I guess you'd have, at what point then you'd be walking into conference play, and not to mention NC State. I mean, Will Wade and Darian Williams, they're a talented team. But get out of conference play with somewhere around 4 losses. I don't think that's the end of the world.
No.
Given the caliber of schedule that we're playing. But yeah, I mean, I think I feel a little bit better. I think my concern specifically with this game compared to somebody like a Purdue is I know that we can go fast and score a lot of points. And I think today showed that we can kind of play a different style of basketball when we need to, and stay competitive in those types of games. Because if we're being honest, the defense has been a concern just across the board. And being able to kind of dig our heels in and for the most part look pretty solid on the defensive end today. I know Houston's not probably as dynamic offensively as a Purdue or an Alabama or some of those teams that can really get out and score it. But I think it showed me that we're capable of playing that type of basketball game. And, this team's going to continue to gel. Like I said earlier, this is their fourth game playing together against a team that I think is as Final Four ready this early in the season as anybody with Houston and what they've got.
You can't tell me that's not the best team in the country. I mean, they've got a 1 next to their name, but I find it hard-pressed to believe that there's another team right now that looks as good as them.
Yeah, no, I mean, Purdue obviously looked really good against Alabama earlier this week.
Point.
And we know what Braden Smith and TK are, but again, very different style. I mean, Purdue is going to get their wins by outscoring people and being really efficient on the offensive end of the floor. Houston obviously is always under Kelvin Sampson been more of a defensive type team. So it's them two right now. I think I continue to buy more into Arizona. Duke has looked pretty good for the most part, and there's several other teams we could go on and on about that. But again, we all three picked Houston preseason to win the national championship. I have no reason through the first 4 games to change that pick or have a change of opinion as far as that goes. And Auburn hung right there with them. So, I think there's some things that you can take away from this one and, go back to the drawing board and get ready for Michigan and Oregon. But I did not expect us to hang like we did. And one thing I wanted to call out specifically is like those, last 2 or so minutes. I mean, I think we had turnover, stop on the defensive end. They really dug their heels in when we were down like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
To get that back to where you had a chance to win the game with about 14 seconds left. And you touched on a little bit the offensive execution there, and that last possession was pretty rough. We had 3 chances to get a shot off, and I think they all 3 got blocked. So that's pretty disappointing. But you hung with an objectively better team for a full 40 minutes and had a chance to win it right there at the end. Obviously, that's a moral victory, and that's not what we're not in the business of moral victories. But I was encouraged with what I saw today overall.
Yep, I'm with you. We'll keep this short. I think a great summary is we surprised ourselves a little bit today. Not all losses are good, but that one felt like a good loss, and hopefully Keyshawn Hall's okay.
Yeah. Who's your player of the game?
It's Flemings
for me.
Stat line is going to be tough, but just because he shot free throws unbelievably bad. I thought Sebastian Williams-Adams played again some massive defensive minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
What about you?
Overall, it was Kingston Flemings. I mean, he didn't look like a freshman out there. He hit big shot after big shot. It was 8 for 13 from the field, and then another 7 assists, 5 rebounds. From an Auburn standpoint, it's hard not to say Keyshawn Hall, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 8 for 8 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
I thought Tahad hit some shots in some big moments that kind of gave us a little bit of momentum. He was 3 for 8 from 3, and he chucked a couple that probably should not have. I'm with you on SWA, but just looking down the box score and kind of recalling what I saw, it's really hard from an Auburn standpoint not to say Keyshawn Hall, and that's been the theme through the first 4 games. Is he's super aggressive, especially down low for an undersized 4. We actually ran some bigger lineups where he was playing at the 3, and they had SWA and Murphy in there. I liked that a lot. But it's hard not to say Keyshawn Hall, and again, you really hope that he's okay, because he's a piece that you got to have. I mean, you're dangerously looking at missing tournament territory if he's out for extended period of time.
Yeah, I agree. Good takeaways. I mean, that's all I had. I mean, looking ahead to the schedule again, hopefully Hall's okay, and let's go try and steal a game here.
Yeah, no, I think you got a shot to win at least one of those Michigan and Oregon games, and then depending on who your third opponent is, potentially grab two over Thanksgiving week, which would be huge. So yeah, we'll see. But I think there's reasons to be excited and reasons to be optimistic that this team, as they continue to gel together, can continue to improve as the season goes on.
Yep. Alrighty. That's all I had. Be sure to stay posted. I think we'll send out a podcast here maybe next Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, I think we'll got some big non-con games this week. Champions Classic, Arizona, UConn, Bama, Illinois. So plan to probably record Sunday, recap some of those games, and then preview a massive Thanksgiving week. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have pics on the Instagram and all that good stuff. Yeah.
All righty. Take care.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.